He sounds like a Muslim extremist.
You said, Rudy, that...
Dude. Okay. Guys, what's the investigation? I meant we should look into this as people, you know? Not any kind of criminal thing.
We've got Rudy back. Rudy, welcome back.
Rudy couldn't stand listening to this. Stand listening to this. Hit me back in there. Rudy, please unblock me on Twitter. Rudy, I'm sorry for being mean to you on Twitter.com. Please unblock me. Lonebox and Ethan Klein have just assured me that all Jews are Zionists, and if you have a problem with Israel, you got a problem with Jews. Okay. I think we'll watch the Piers Morgan thing. Yeah. We'll give this a go for a bit. Might be boring. Maybe we'll turn it off. Let's see.
You are a self-described democratic socialist. Do you think that billionaires have a right to exist?
Hey, look, Ukrainian Anna.
I don't think that we should have billionaires.
Do I see him as an enemy of America?
Yeah.
What he's saying? You're damn right I do. I think he's going to destroy New York City.
All I'll say is that Vim message is funny. Okay, let's just be serious here.
Bigoted, and that's what Rudy Giuliani was. Bigoted nonsense. Total trash. You ignore every...
The Vim message only gets funnier the more he talks.
...he just said.
I'm delighted to say Rudy Giuliani's been listening and actually didn't really want to leave us, so we've got Rudy back. Rudy, welcome back. Almost 8 months on from the presidential election, and it's still unclear who is...
I saw, Kathy, I saw. That's what I'm talking about.
The left, or the very, very left, well, Zohran Mamdani may offer a clue. He's a charismatic...
Giuliani streams on Kick? What?
Muslim socialist who doesn't believe billionaires should exist, and he just won a stunning victory in the Democratic primary for mayor of New York City, the biggest in the United States. Some of his policies are already raising eyebrows.
We went on your website and realized there's a policy proposal that says your plan, and I'm going to quote it for folks, is to shift the tax burden from overtaxed homeowners in the outer boroughs to more expensive homes in richer and whiter neighborhoods. Explain why you are bringing race into your tax proposal.
That is just a description of what we see right now. It's not driven by race. It's more of an assessment of what neighborhoods are being undertaxed versus overtaxed.
Well, the backlash has been swift and in some cases, let's face it, racist. Congressman Andy Ogles called him Little Muhammad, while Nancy May...
Okay, that's surprising from Piers, who spent all that time going off Meghan Markle, okay? He's saying, no, some of the things they're saying are a bit racist, you know? Okay.
Accused voters of, quotes, forgetting 9/11, close quotes. Marjorie Taylor Greene posted a picture of a Statue of Liberty in a burqa before later praising him in an interview with Tucker Carlson.
That guy was the only person in the New York City mayor's debate to say he wanted to focus on New York City. All the candidates were asked, if you could visit a foreign country, what would it be? And they, of course, all had an answer. I think most said Israel. Great. And he said, I wouldn't go anywhere. I'd stay in New York. And like, if I want to meet Jewish constituents, I go to their synagogues, their homes or whatever, but I'd be here in New York because that's what I'm doing. I'm running New York. That's my job.
Well, he gave the right answer.
He gave the right answer.
Yeah.
Well, Mayor Eric Adams, who was elected as a Democrat but is running as an independent, accuses Mamdani of, quotes, embracing Hamas, close quotes. What's most revealing, though, is the icy reception from serving senior Democrats, including the current House leader and the New York governor.
Let's start with the big news, Leader Jeffries, out of your hometown. Mamdani won a big victory. Have you endorsed him yet?
Tucker isn't doing it to fuck with the Dems. Tucker is a total Russian asset, as far as I'm concerned. The point of this is to just undermine support for... Like, while I might agree with some of the stuff he's saying sometimes, when he makes, you know, Ted Cruz sweat or whatever, or says, you know, obviously it's a good answer to say you'll focus on New York City instead of jetting off to Israel. The obvious point is that Tucker's sole aim is to undermine American confidence in American foreign policy for the benefit of Russia. So...
I have not. And frankly, stylistically, and I'm not a socialist, and I don't associate myself with what he has said about the Jewish people.
Will you support his candidacy and will you back him?
You know, the election just completed. I had a chance to call and congratulate him on the Tuesday's primary and look forward to having conversation. Obviously, there's areas of difference.
Well, 10 years ago, the UK's Labour Party ran a very left-wing campaign which saw them walloped in the general election. They responded by appointing Jeremy Corbyn as a leader, a radical elder socialist who, funnily enough, was ousted in an anti-Semitism scandal. The bottom line is that the democratic identity crisis is no closer to a resolution now than it was on November the 5th. Meanwhile, President Trump is racking up win after win after win, and the left has nobody to burst his balloon.
Okay,
So
CPCA.
the biggest winner in the current DNC civil war is probably MAGA. In a moment, we'll debate all this with my panel, founder and CEO of the Young Turks, Cenk, News Nation correspondent Geraldo Rivera, and the former DNC fundraiser, Lindy Lee. But first, to give us plenty to debate, I'm sure I'm joined by the former mayor of New York, Rudy Giuliani. Rudy, great to have you back on Uncensored.
Good to see you, Piers.
Your reaction to this...
I heard you want your country back. You can't have that. Star and crescent emoji, hammer emoji, Star of David emoji, star and crescent emoji, hammer emoji, Star of David emoji, star and crescent emoji, hammer emoji, Star of David emoji, star and crescent emoji, hammer emoji, Star of David emoji, star and crescent emoji, hammer emoji, Star of David emoji, star and crescent emoji, hammer emoji, Star of David emoji, star and crescent emoji, hammer emoji, Star of David emoji, star and crescent emoji, hammer emoji, Star of David emoji.
Thank you, Jimberly, for the $5. Huge appreciate. Thank you.
Character who's come out of nowhere, and now the whole of America's talking about him. What's your response to Mamdani mayhem?
A total shock. Something I never thought I would see in New York. New York has always been a little bit more inclined to be reasonable when necessary. I mean, we're the only one of these crooked democratic cities that at any time in the last 60 or 70 years has elected a Republican. Chicago, 70 years of Democrats, Detroit. I mean, you've had me, LaGuardia, Bloomberg. They don't have anything like that. No reform, nothing. So plus we're the biggest Jewish city. For a while, we were the biggest Jewish city in the world. I think Tel Aviv has now passed us. So this is a shock to me that somebody like this would come along. And it isn't even just the anti-Semitism and the anti-Jewish hate. We've almost gotten used to it in the streets of New York now over the last 2 to 3 years. This guy is a major supporter of Hamas. This is a terrorist group that wants to destroy not just Israel.
But what is the basis from being a supporter of Hamas? Is this just... Okay.
Children are taught from about 2 years old, death to Israel, death to America.
Rudy, where has he expressed any support for Hamas? Because I haven't seen that.
Oh my goodness! I mean, he was by and large he wouldn't condemn what they did when they
That was a good question from Piers. So okay, he doesn't do the retarded condemnation game. That's not support, is it, Giuliani? It's so fucking wretched, man.
By and large, he wouldn't condemn what they did when they wiped out the Israeli people. He has refused to condemn them. He refuses to acknowledge they're a terrorist group. Every time he's asked...
David had a long debate with Pisco. Who's David?
He just kind of punts on the question. He has very, very, very...
Oh, that guy.
Statements that sound a lot like Hamas, Intifada forever, Intifada all over the world. And then he tries to claim that he has his own definition of Intifada. You know, sorry, Zohran, you're not entitled to your own definition of Intifada. They've killed about 8,000 people. That kind of sets a definition.
8 hour David Kvetchathon? That's crazy.
So, I think you could put together a case that he supports an internationally acknowledged terrorist group that is a close ally of Iran. I mean, remember, although one is Sunni and the other is Shia, and they hate each other, Iran and Hamas, they join on two things: destroy Israel, destroy America. Death to America, death to Israel. That's what brings Iran and Hamas together.
But really, why if you believe he's so, you know, the way you've just categorized, why are so many New Yorkers in a city, as you said, which has more Jews outside of Israel than any city in the world, why would they have rallied behind this guy if he's such an enemy?
Remember, Rudy Giuliani got the Italian sausage and Stromboli sued out of him for lying about Georgia election workers stuffing ballots. Very important context here. Yeah, obviously, Rudy Giuliani is a wretched fucking liar. I mean, I hope everyone knows. I hope we're all aware of that.
Of Jewish people.
Well, you know, Piers, that's a very good question. It leads me to what's wrong with the people of my city and what's wrong with the people of Chicago. I mean, they had a mayoral primary.
Dude, the face melting pictures, that shit was so funny. Holy fuck, man. Whoops. 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 Whoops.
Appalling terror attack happened. Are you comfortable that people use 9/11 as a stick to beat him with?
Nobody's doing that, Piers.
Well, they are.
I was the people who protected the Muslim people after 9/11. People expected a tremendous amount of reaction against them. And Bernie Kerik and I put together a task force for 4 weeks, and there was no attack in New York, not a single one, even though you might have expected one, given the kind of emotion involved. And I talked, one of the first things I said as I was telling my people to please be careful and watch out, it might be another attack, is do not touch anybody. We're not going to be like them. We don't hate Muslim people. We hate the people who did this. And we have to make it clear to them that we can stand up to them. But then again, I'm not a fool. I know there are a substantial number of Muslims, and there's a substantial amount of the Quran that talks about slaughtering Christians and Jews. And there's a whole group of Muslims who believe that. And
I've written an analysis of fair use for the Ethan Denham's lawsuit. I've researched myself into the position that our case is stronger than it seems. Want to go over it before I try Pisco? I mean, you can send it or something. I don't have to go over it on stream. No promises. I feel like any significant research document, I'm not gonna commit to necessarily reading or going over or whatever. But I'm open to it.
And unfortunately, an undetermined number of them got into this country in the last 4 years, unlike any other time in our history, because of our pathetic President Biden, who also gave Iran hundreds of millions of dollars, and Obama did it in cash.
But
So
would
I don't
you
know
have a
what's going
problem,
on.
Rudy? Would you have a problem with a Muslim mayor of New York? Tax day has passed, but for millions of Americans, that's where the trouble begins. The IRS is now ramping up enforcement for those who missed the April deadline or still owe back taxes. Well, today's sponsor.
Okay, we don't care.
Not if he told me he would write out the portion of the Quran where Muhammad is exhorting the people to kill Christians and Jews and telling them if he doesn't kill them, they should get tribute from them. If he's like some of the imams that I'm close to who can write that out and can say that, I'd be very comfortable with him. If he's dominated by that sick pathological philosophy, which dominates not all Muslims, but more than a comfortable amount, given all the killing they've done, then I have a real problem with it. And he doesn't sound like a moderate Muslim. He sounds like a Muslim extremist.
You said, Rudy, that...
Dude. Okay.
You think there may need to be an investigation to see if Mamdani is an enemy of America. Is that the kind of language that is sensible? You said, Mr. Benny Johnson.
I didn't mean an investigation criminal. I meant for the purpose of voting. You and I should do the investigation as voters.
Right. Guys, when I say investigation, I meant we should look into this as people, you know, not any kind of criminal thing. Shut the fuck up, Rudy, you rat piece of shit. What a disgusting fucking liar, man.
America?
Do I see him as an enemy of America?
Yeah.
What he's saying? My personal.
Yes.
You're damn right I do. I think he's going to destroy New York City. I think this is a disaster time for New York City. This guy becomes mayor, the city is gone. People are leaving the city already. You can't say things like the things he's saying and not frighten the hell out of people. I mean, it has nothing to do with even 9/11. Had 9/11 not happened, he'd be an enemy of the city. He's espousing a philosophy that wants to destroy America, wants to destroy the Jewish people, wants to destroy the Christian people. I really would like to destroy all the Muslims who disagree with him. And he is a very strong supporter of that. And he doesn't make a distinction.
This is just so hysterical.
And he becomes
it's
very
just
cute
insane.
and stupid and silly. Plus, he's totally unqualified. He's a 33-year-old do-nothing from a rich family who's never accomplished a damn thing in his life.
Like, what is it? He said he doesn't play the condemnation game. That's the substantiation for all of this.
Whenever we've gotten a mayor like that, he's been a terrible failure, like de Blasio. This guy's not an accomplished man. He's a rich kid who has learned excessive, crazy philosophy so that he can sound smart, I think. That's the best explanation I can give of him. It might be worse.
Rudy Giuliani, always good to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed for joining me.
Thanks, Piers. Good to see you. You look great.
Thank you. So do you. Let's debate this now with Cenk, Geraldo, and...
Wait,
well,
it's
Cenk,
not actually Rudy versus Cenk. They bring on Cenk after? Dude, fuck you, Piers Morgan. Rudy Giuliani versus Cenk Uygur on Zohran Mamdani. Where? Oh, wait. No. Okay. I've seen. It's good. He comes back.
Putting a lot of faces there. What did you make of what Rudy Giuliani said?
Yeah, your audience should ignore everything Rudy Giuliani just said. Everything was a lie. Mamdani's never supported Hamas, never said the word intifada, doesn't hate Jews or Christians. Muslims don't have to write out parts of the Quran. It would be absurd to say, hey, if you're a Jew running for mayor, you've now got to write out parts of the Torah or the Talmud. Otherwise, we don't accept Jews. If you said you're a Christian running, but you've got to cancel out parts of the Bible, otherwise we won't let Christians run. It would be deeply bigoted, and that's what Rudy Giuliani was. Bigoted nonsense, total trash. Ignore every lie he just said. Now, let's talk about, look, there's three different types of people going against Mamdani. There's the economic criticism, which is interesting, legitimate, and debate-worthy. Then there's the people who are opposed to him because he won't bow his head to Israel. And that's Rudy. And that's almost everyone in Democratic establishment and the Republican establishment. So those folks say, no, that's it. This guy won't bow. If he won't bow to Israel, if he's New York first, unacceptable. He has to be Israel first. And that's absurd. And they're deeply racist and they're bigots. And I can't stand it. So there's other critiques of Mamdani we can get into, but in terms of this whole attack against him being Muslim and him not kissing Israel's ass is totally not relevant to New York and is only an argument made by bigots. So I hope I've been clear enough.
I think you've made your position very clear. Geraldo, welcome back.
Well, I think several things. Nice to see you, Piers and panel. I think, first of all, he has used the expression intifada. He wants to globalize the intifada, and he speaks about it quite often. Let me finish. Secondly, I agree with you. I agree with you. Please, it's not.
Has he said it?
Just look it up. The second thing is that the whole notion.
He's never said it.
The whole notion of moving the tax burden in New York from the richer, whiter neighborhoods to the.
He just says he's declined to condemn it. I'm saying he hasn't. I don't think he said it. He just defended it, right?
I am somehow in opposition to the very Jewish New Yorkers. It pains me to be painted as if I am somehow in opposition to the very Jewish New Yorkers that I know and love and that are such a key part of this city. To your question of why not a more visceral reaction, part of it has been colored by the fact that when I speak, especially when I speak with emotion, I am then characterized by those same rivals as being a monster. I get messages that say the only good Muslim is a dead Muslim.
Okay, man.
I get threats on my life, on the people that I love.
What's this? So I guess I don't think he's ever said. I don't think he's ever said it. It just sounds like he's being asked to condemn it and refusing.
Ask you about an issue that has divided some New Yorkers in recent weeks. You were recently asked about the term globalize the intifada, if it makes you uncomfortable. In that moment, you did not condemn the phrase. Now, just so folks understand, it's a phrase that many people hear as a call to violence against Jews. There's been a lot of attention on this issue. So
wait, what? You're asking what that was? That's this guy. There's a picture of him.
I want to give you an opportunity to respond here and now. Do you condemn that phrase, globalize the intifada?
That's not language that I use. The language that I use and the language that I will continue to use to lead this city is that which speaks clearly to my intent, which is an intent grounded in a belief in universal human rights. And ultimately, that's what...
Globalize the intifada.
That's not language that I use. The language that I use and the language that I will continue to use to lead this city is that which speaks clearly to my intent, which is an intent grounded in a belief in universal human rights. And ultimately, that's what is the foundation of so much of my politics, the belief that freedom and justice and safety are things that, to have meaning, have to be applied to all people, and that includes Israelis and Palestinians alike.
But do you actually condemn it? I think that's the question and the outstanding issue that a number of people, both of the Jewish faith and beyond, have. Do you condemn that phase, globalize the Intifada, which a lot of people hear as a call to violence against Jews?
I've heard from many Jewish New Yorkers who have shared their concerns with me, especially in light of the horrific attacks that we saw in Washington, D.C. and in Boulder, Colorado, about this moment of anti-Semitism in our country and in our city. And I've heard...
Did you see a sign out front? It said, dead ringer storage. Okay.
Those fears, and I've had those conversations, and ultimately they are part and parcel of why in my campaign I've put forward a commitment to increase funding for anti-hate crime programming by 800%. I don't believe that the role of the mayor is to police speech in the manner especially of that of Donald Trump, who has put one New Yorker in jail who's just returned to his family, Mahmoud Khalil, for that very supposed crime of speech. Ultimately, what I think I need to show is the ability to not only talk about something, but to tackle it and to make clear that there's no room for anti-Semitism in this city. We have to root out that bigotry, and ultimately we do that through the actions, and that is the mayor I will be, one that protects Jewish New Yorkers and lives up to that commitment through the work that I do.
But quickly, for the people who care about the language and who feel really concerned by that phrase, why not just condemn it? My concern is to start to walk down the line of language and making clear what language I believe is permissible or impermissible takes me into a place similar to that of the president who is looking to do those very kinds of things, putting people in jail for writing an op-ed, putting them in jail for protesting. Ultimately, it's not language that I use. It's language I understand there are concerns about. And what I will do is showcase my vision for the city through my words and my actions.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on...
Yeah, it's totally reasonable. I totally agree with his rationale for not wanting to condemn it. I think it's based. I hope he wins off of it, because I think he's right there. I think when free speech is actually being attacked, the idea that you do the retarded trash panda game of like, you know, I condemn that, but no, I don't condemn it. It's free speech. Fuck that.
Richer, whiter neighborhoods, as if the richer, whiter neighborhoods don't pay enough in tax. We've had enormous flight of the people who do pay tax to the suburbs and to other states. And all we have to do is increase the tax, the real estate tax, even more under his proposal. And you'll have no taxable base. You'll have no rich white people to pay the tax. The third thing, and curiously, I agree in a twisted way about the situation with the Palestinians. I believe that what you saw, and this is the underreported headline, I believe, is that you saw a cataclysmic shift in the Jewish vote. It was a generational shift. Older Jews and in neighborhoods that were 100% Jews, like the Hasidic neighborhoods and others, they went with...
Yeah, that's always... So, any criticisms I would have of Zohran Mamdani are not about those statements or anything. It's like fucking rent freeze and shit like that. Right? It's like the more socialist economic policies that he wants from New York. Okay, you're the only one complaining about volume right now, Noah. So it can't be that bad. It can't be so bad that it's causing massive issues. Okay. How much can the mayor actually do with economics? Yeah, what's the argument about the lower food prices stuff? It's about putting like bodegas and shit out of business or something, right? I don't know. Obviously, I don't really give a fuck about New York economics because I don't fucking live there. I've never been there. So the only part that's really interesting of this to me is the discussion around this broader political positions. So yeah, I'm sure there are good criticisms of him that I would totally agree with. It's just not what's being spoken about.
Governor Cuomo in the Democratic primary just passed. The people who voted against Cuomo and for Mamdani were the young Jewish voters who are activists.
How about free daycare, for or against? I mean, I'd be for in principle. I just don't. I have never looked into free daycare as a policy or how it would work in New York. So I don't have like a thought out position on it. In principle, it sounds great in principle. Paying for people's daycare with tax money.
Who are in the hundreds of thousands in New York. They are, you know, half of that generation in the city of New York. They are part of the lifeblood of the city. They rejected their parents, Israel always and forever, no matter what kind of view, and they are sick to death of what's happening in Gaza. They can't stand to see Israel continue to wage this very, very unfair, violent campaign against civilians in Gaza. Now you're not talking about Iran, you're not talking about Syria or Hezbollah or the big picture, but you're talking specifically about what's going on in Gaza. It has sickened. I know I have kids in New York. Two of my children.
Government rebates for daycare or city-run daycare. I don't really know enough about it to make a judgment on that. My gut tells me rebates. I don't know.
Live in New York. Two now, I just hesitate because one just moved, but two live in New York. They vote in New York. I voted for Giuliani. I voted for Bloomberg. But to see these kids are rejecting their parents, Israel always and forever, no matter what, and saying, wait a second, Israel has to be held to the same standard as any other nation. We're not going to let you push us. And we are voting, and they rejected the Democratic establishment candidate and the old school ways, and they embrace something much more energetic and humane and compassionate, I believe.
Yeah, and I think also I would add to that, Cuomo is hardly a clean whistle when it comes to candidates. There's a lot of baggage there, which people have probably not forgotten, and, you know, memories live long. Lindy, you were listening to that quite intently. I mean, it's a really interesting political story, isn't it? That this guy, Mamdani's come out of nowhere, and he's basically taking down one of the most experienced politicians in the country.
Skip to Rudy versus Cenk.
It's not.
Ridge wallet ads, cut wallet ads.
I can delight to say Rudy Giuliani's been listening and actually didn't really want to leave us, so we've got Rudy back. Rudy, welcome back.
Rudy couldn't stand listening to this. Hit me back in there.
So just to clarify what a few of the
Rudy,
panelists...
by the way, you and I have exchanged a lot of mean tweets. I want to apologize. I don't know. You blocked me.
Oh my god. Oh, what are we doing? What? Rudy, please unblock me on Twitter. Rudy, I'm sorry for being mean to you on Twitter.com. Please unblock me.
Actually didn't really want to leave us, so we've got Rudy back. Rudy, welcome back. So just to clarify what a few of the panelists...
By the way, you and I have exchanged a lot of mean tweets. I want to apologize. I don't know. You blocked me. I think you were very angry. I just want to take this opportunity to extend an olive branch.
Wow. Okay, Rudy.
Well, I'm not aware of them. I wonder if they were as excessive as the original attack on me by I thought my friend there. Highly personal and really nasty.
Oh, it wasn't as bad as Cenk's, yeah.
But in any event, I mean, he's actually quoted. I have it here at two different events using the word "globalize the Intifada." Your candidate, Zohran, and then he weasels out of it by. Well, I mean, just go look at it as you were just told. I mean, try something like
Rudy,
reading.
you're missing the
so
distinction.
Read it,
He doesn't say it, but he also doesn't condemn it.
He defends it. Is that a lot better? Just yesterday on Meet the Press, when he was speaking with Kristen Walker, he defended the phrase again. Come on, it looks really bad. It's not something you should say.
He doesn't use it.
I'm asking ChatGPT to find it for me. I literally can't see. I cannot see this guy saying it anywhere when I Google it. So I'm gonna literally ask ChatGPT. Has Zohran Mamdani ever used the phrase Globalize the Intifada. Dude, you can't make this up. You can't make it. You cannot make this up. You cannot make this up. You cannot make this shit. This is the most zogged shit. Oh my god. Has Zohran Mamdani ever used the phrase globalized intifada? Yes, during June 2025 interviews, Zohran Mamdani was directly asked whether he endorsed or would use the phrase globalized intifada. His response is not use it himself, believes it's the mayor's job to police language, but declined to comment outright. There's not language I use, but stop short of denouncing a slogan. He described the phrase symbolic call for human rights, not violence, but declined to repudiate it. It's known as an anti-Zionist chant. Summarize, never used the phrase himself, but persistently refused to condemn it when pressed. So, when you said yes at the start of this question, you actually meant no. Wait, okay, let's try pushing back. Let's push back on ChatGPT. Why did you answer this question yes? When you meant no. You're right, that was imprecise. The factual answer is no. Okay. Dude, ChatGPT is so funny. It's actually such a shit app, I'm not gonna lie. Apparently the other AIs are way better now as well.
He doesn't condemn it, is the point, right? So he doesn't condemn it, which actually, in the modern climate, for a New York City potential mayor not to condemn a phrase like globalized intifada is a pretty big deal.
It's terrible. It's damning.
Well, the reality is, he tries to redefine
When I lie. You're right. That was imprecise.
Not to condemn a phrase like globalized intifada is a pretty big deal.
It's terrible. It's damning.
Well, the reality is, he tries to redefine
Another flawless W pressing a large language model that is trained to agree with everyone.
the Intifada as his own definition of the Intifada. It's not violent. Well, go tell that to the thousands of people that have been killed. I used to go to Israel in the late 90s and the early 2000s when Ehud Olmert was mayor. I've been in hospitals seeing girls whose faces were ripped apart by Hamas. There was an intifada. There were two of them. It killed thousands of people, and it has no other definition. And the guy's playing a sick communist game of doublespeak.
Not true either.
And Cenk, let me bring Cenk. I'm going to bring Cenk back in. Hang on.
He's a total empty suit.
Let me bring Cenk back in, because another problem Mamdani may have as this goes on is he's on record as saying that he wants to defund the police. He's tried to distance himself from that, but he said it. He insisted that queer liberation means defund the police. I mean, again, the idea that somebody, maybe the mayor of New York, would actually have that as a quote on their record is pretty extraordinary. Is he going to be able to shake off these quotes like that, which to many New Yorkers would be complete anathema? And Rudy, when he was mayor of New York, famously the broken windows strategy of fixing the small stuff and police everywhere and empowering them and resourcing them and so on. And now you've got a guy who wants to defund the police.
He also accuses them of being racist.
So just
he also accuses them of being racist when they are a non-majority police department. There's nothing racist about the New York City Police Department. The last time de Blasio did that, he got 2 cops killed, and that's what led to their turning their back on him. There was a riot in Baltimore, and de Blasio, like this other crazy communist, went out and said, "Oh, New York is racist too," and a guy came up from Baltimore and he shot 2 detectives, assassinated them 4 days later, and that's why the cops
Rudy,
turned
the
their
question
backs
was to me.
on that guy.
All right, check.
These people are dangerous, and they get people killed. And you know who gets killed? The black people get killed as a result of it. Yes,
Not
no?
just black
You don't know what the hell you're talking about.
All right, let's all talk at once. Cenk, you go. You go.
Okay, so a bunch of misnomers there. First of all, it was the highest voter turnout in a Democratic primary in a long time. I was part of the AOC campaign. We were counting on low voter turnout. Not in this case. The tide has changed. The younger people, like Geraldo said, are voting for change, and middle class is voting for change. So you guys play word games. But now to the main question that Piers was asking. Look, there's some of his policies that I don't agree with. I don't agree with defund the police. I wouldn't have had government-run grocery stores at the top of my list. I just wouldn't have, right? And I'm not saying it's a bad idea. I just wouldn't have prioritized it. So free buses, that's super interesting. I want to see how it works. These are not my policies, but the Democrats in New York elected him. And so let's let him give it a shot, right? So in terms of, defunding the police, again, let's be careful, and he is careful. He at least says it the right way. I don't like the phrase at all, but what he's talking about is moving some portion of the money towards social services. So, okay, you could say, I don't want to try that. That's fine. You've got a general election coming up. But a lot of his economic policies are for change. That's the third issue that I mentioned, Piers, in the beginning. And so overall, I'm for change. I'm against the establishment. So if this brother wants to try the grocery stores, he wants to try free buses, etc., let him take a shot at it. We've already seen what the establishment has to offer, and it's nothing but pulp. It's driven this country into the ground. I don't want another Cuomo. I don't want another Adams. I want change.
Well, it's really, let me just, I want to ask Geraldo actually first, then come to you, Lindy, because it's interesting actually that what Cenk just said, because the conservative writer, Rod Dreher, likened Mamdani's win to Trump's. He said New York left-wing voters, quotes, lashed out against what they regard as a failed liberal establishment, electing a charismatic populist who promised a clear break with the past. We on the right can shake our heads and laugh at how dumb New York liberals and progressives were to choose a candidate as politically inexperienced and radical as Mamdani. But don't miss that this was also a referendum on the Democratic Party itself. And, I do remember, Geraldo, when in 2015 Donald Trump came down the famous, elevator saying, I'm going to run for president, everyone mocking and laughing.
Escalator.
And say he's got no experience. This is a ridiculous candidate, quoting all sorts of incendiary things he'd said before. Blah,
and Bronze won on rematch right now. Prick. Okay.
Blah, 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 blah. And he won. And he's now won again. So is it mad for the Democrats to actually go for a young, kind of their version of Trump?
I think will, in New York at least, mostly be affected by people's wallets, by people's pocketbooks. There is no way that the middle class, the upper middle class, the strivers, the hard workers, the college-educated business creators, there's no way that they're going to tolerate more tax, more income tax. And to think that you're going to have free transit and free food and free housing, free everything. There's no such thing as a free lunch. My goodness, haven't we learned? There's no way to have socialism in a city that needs that needs the vibrancy of Wall Street to create the jobs. It's not just the brokers it's the grocery guy on the corner of Wall Street. It's the Uber driver, et cetera, et cetera. If you take the tax base of New York and attack it anymore, it will be a failed city like so many others. And it's the last thing. We have to embrace the police. We have to embrace the job creators. We have to try to lower taxes in the richer, whiter neighborhoods so they don't go to Scarsdale and other communities, upscale communities that don't tax nearly as much. And in terms of the cops, my goodness, I voted for Giuliani and Bloomberg before him, and the change in the city over those 5 terms was extraordinary. It was a functioning, workable, integrated city where the goals and the dreams of socialists were realized with the fruits of capitalism. So I think that this kid is way, way off the mark. But I also believe that if all these people run on independent lines, as promised now, Eric Adams, Andrew Cuomo, Curtis Sliwa, he could win.
Yeah.
You could have the first young Muslim, mayor of the biggest Jewish city.
It is funny to think that them all being like stubborn and running as independents could end up letting this guy win. Like they're all trying to attack this guy, but it's gonna just create a pathway for him to win the election. Not that I'm saying that will happen necessarily. So I don't know fuck all about New York elections, but
in North America, it could happen And it could happen particularly if the sore of Gaza continues to deep.
Yeah, I think you're right. Lindy.
By the way, wouldn't that be beautiful, guys?
Well, actually, it would be an amazing thing. It would be an
Muslim
amazing thing, and I actually thought that. I actually thought, Cenk, that the way Geraldo framed it earlier, that hundreds of young Jewish people, right, male and female, who actually do not share the view that you just of their parents and grandparents, that you have to have just blind, devoted loyalty to Israel, particularly if its government is behaving in the way that it's currently behaving in Gaza.
And they voted for a Muslim mayor. And isn't that a beautiful thing?
No. Loinenbox and Ethan Klein assured me that all Jews are Zionists. Loinenbox and Ethan Klein have 100% assured me that all Jews are Zionists. And if you have a problem with Israel, you got a problem with Jews. Okay. It's a joke. It's banter.
Thing about America, I mean, isn't that a beautiful thing about America, that we don't care about religion, that young Jewish voters and young Christian and Muslim voters vote for a Muslim candidate because they believe in his economic message and his message of justice? That's what America is supposed to be all about, that we forget about this race and religion stuff and vote on the substance.
You talk about him implementing change, but all of his promises are lies. When we can go through and debunk every single one. For example, he says he wants to offer free buses, but guess what's going to happen then? If you don't charge anything for buses, there's no funding for transportation coming in. So how are you going to maintain your infrastructure fleet? And if you control rent, the supply of housing is going to decrease and the quality will decrease as well. And most importantly, though, who's going to pay for it? When the governor of New York herself, Kathy Hochul, vowed that she would not be raising taxes. So every single thing he said was actually a lie. Either he knew it or he doesn't. I don't know which is better. Is it deception
it's not a lie?
Well, I just told you. I gave
Lindy,
you 3
it's not a lie.
examples of things that could just cannot happen because the governor is not raising taxes. He can't operate in a vacuum. Okay, not everyone is a communist. You have to partner with other people in the government and collaborate. It's a whole of government approach.
So,
it's
Lindy,
not a microcosm.
You're saying you disagree with his approach, but to say that it's a lie doesn't make sense. No, he really does want free buses, and he has a plan for free buses. Now, you can say, hey, I don't think that plan is going to work, and I think it's going to have negative consequences. Well, good news. Let's hope we're about to find out, okay?
Well,
and maybe you're wrong. Maybe the free buses totally work out, and in fact, there are different ways to finance it.
I think he went into the campaign knowing that he was offering false promises to the New York people. Another thing that I find extremely alarming is saying that he said his ultimate goal is to seize the means of production. That is something straight out of Animal Farm right there. It has no place in the United States of America.
He certainly has. He's got a lot of quotes on his track record. I want to pivot just before we finish this. Rudy, I want to talk to you about Donald Trump, because you could argue the last 2 or 3 weeks have been the best, really, of his entire time as president, first and second term combined. You've got this extraordinary strike on Iran's nuclear capabilities.
George Orwell was socialist. Generally, stop thinking too much, okay?
And a ceasefire coming when people did not anticipate that happening so quickly. He's got NATO to stump up to 5% of GDP on individual spending. A massive win at the Supreme Court, of course. Peace deal in Africa. He brought peace between India and Pakistan when that was flaring up. He's moving hard to try and get peace in Gaza. He's moving hard to try and get peace in Ukraine. If we end up at the end of the year and there is peace in Ukraine, there is peace in Gaza, and all the other things I've mentioned here, not to mention the southern border has pretty much stopped now having anyone coming over illegally, and the economy, if that is purring away as well, given that the stock market's pretty much back where it was before the tariff war started, so he's obviously pleasing the markets. If you put all that together, this could be a stunning, successful year for Trump.
I feel like we've literally just seen the effects in it might not have been like this before because information just travels so much slower and it was so much more difficult to communicate with people and all that stuff. But we've seen now the effects of hand-wringing at people and just saying oh, you just think that's you're evil. You just think that because you're evil and you just want to destroy America, that sort of shit. We've seen the effects of that on right-wingers And now they're just doing it to lefties. And not thinking like, oh, maybe this could have like a severe blowback where, because I'm acting like a complete hysterical retard and not engaging with the more valid criticisms, and instead freaking the fuck out and virtue signaling the whole time. It might actually make them emboldened and make a bunch of people that are looking on at this think, wait, maybe they have a point. Why is no one engaging? Why are they just freaking out?
Well, Piers knows a lot of ifs, but they're all ifs that he's aiming toward. And I think people, because of their insanity about him, haven't recognized that there's a different Donald Trump since Butler County.
Thank you, Rudy. Thank you, Rudy.
Much more.
Rudy Giuliani coming through a tin can, an extra piece of string. Okay, awesome.
Their insanity about him, haven't recognized that there's a different Donald Trump since Butler County. Much more serious, much more concerned about the future, much more concerned about life and death, and frankly, much more spiritual.
Yeah.
It's a different Donald Trump than the one Geraldo and you and I grew up with.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. Cenk, I mean, putting aside the fact you can't stand him, do you acknowledge he's had a lot of wins?
Well, I
look, I give
That's for
credit.
Cenk, Rudy, that's for
Rudy,
Cenk.
that one's for me too. Yeah.
Well, I know
So, look,
big
I give
noise
credit where
behind me,
credit
I'm
is
sorry.
due.
Yeah, give him
That's
credit.
Yeah, no, on some things. So, look, I think that the budget bill's a disaster. I think that it's going to pass and it's going to create $4 trillion deficit. And they always give away tax cuts for the rich and then go, oh, golly gee, I don't know how we wound up with such a big debt. It's because of Republicans who passed these giant tax cuts. And I can go, and I don't like Marines in the streets. There's a million things that I criticize Donald Trump on that, and he deserves that criticism. But the proof's going to be in the pudding, right? So if he walks back all the tariffs, as he's in the middle of doing now, he closes the border, and this is the critical part. If he gets a two-state solution, which just sounds so unbelievable, right? But if he gets that to happen, then there's no way that you could stop his popularity. Because at that point, he will be a peace president. He probably will win a Nobel Peace Prize. And it'll cement his legacy. And there's nothing that anybody can do about it. But that's a giant if, right?
Sure.
But if he allows Israel, which is much more likely, if he allows Israel to continue the slaughter in Gaza, he continues having them agitate for war in Iran, and he continues with the tariffs, he continues with Marines in the streets and National Guard in the streets, et cetera, then he's going to continue to be more and more unpopular. So the jury is very much out right now.
All right, Geraldo, you know, I thought Rudy hit on something there. Rudy has slipped off into the night, I think, but thank you. Unexpected bonus to have him return. The thing he said, though, about Trump being a changed man since the assassination attempt, I've definitely detected that when I've talked to him. I also think he's a man who got a second lease at life, a second lease at the presidency, and he's on a mission, a real fast-track mission to get stuff done, because he knows come the midterms that things may slow down. He might get paralyzed in terms of his ability to get stuff through. So he's on a mission in these first 2 years, I think, to get as much done as he possibly can and to do it in a pretty blunt and often quite savage way, because he knows from his first term that if you don't do that, you won't get stuff done.
Well, I think I agree and disagree. I disagree because I believe that his draconian policies toward undocumented immigrants in this country, not the border's fine, sealed the border, but the people who are here, who have proven to be law-abiding and hardworking and God-fearing and...
Oh, wait, when is the Nick Fuentes, Dinesh D'Souza debate? Is that on now? Was it Dinesh D'Souza? I think so, right? I saw people talking about it in Spicy Chat.
Unlike Iraq, where you had to rely on government.
Yeah, okay. It's on now. We might watch some kick.
And family-oriented. What they are living in terror now. I'll tell you right now, Piers, I've never seen anything like it, particularly Hispanic. It hits close to home. It is, you can't find workers now, service people. The Hamptons are in panic over, our affluent holiday spa in the eastern end of Long Island now. Can't find Mexicans to come and work there. It's shocking and it's awful. In terms of his spirituality, just very, very briefly, he's been always extremely easy to underestimate. He has all kinds of enemies everywhere he turns, but he has gone through the list of achievements that you listed. There is so impressive. It's historic, and he's a slam dunk, I think, for the Nobel Prize, particularly if he get Gaza and Ukraine, if he can figure those out. Then God bless him, he deserves it, absolutely.
Yeah, Lindy, I mean, I thought Gerardo made a good point there. I don't understand about the deportation policy, why they didn't stick to what they originally said they were going to start with, which is just kick all the criminals out, because that seemed to have universal support. Excuse me, support. Well, if you were here undocumented in America and you committed a crime, that's it, you're gone. Everyone would have cheered that. It's the fact that they've expanded it very quickly, and they've let people sort of slip through the net where it clearly looks unfair or there's a lack of due process. That's now become to dominate the narrative.
Piers, I think I'm going to say something that will probably surprise you. I don't think he's gone hard enough on immigration. I think he should do more. I think anyone who comes to this country illegally should not be here. As a naturalized American myself, I'm extremely pissed off that millions of people have just stormed across the southern border willy-nilly, completely desecrating our laws and our immigration system. How is that fair? And I think that's one of the reasons why Democrats lost, because they don't realize how many Americans who came here as immigrants they pissed off by coddling these illegal aliens.
But what about Geraldo's point that already people are struggling now because so many people are being deported and there's a terror of being deported? And you know, there's clearly a qualitative difference between somebody who's in the country illegally, who commits a crime, and somebody who maybe came over 10 years ago, 12 years ago, has had kids in America, has got a job, is paying taxes. These are two different cases, aren't they?
So we should triage, but they also broke our laws. What is the point of having laws if they're just broken? Okay, if we should have a sensible system. If you want to come to America, you got to be able to contribute to the success of this country.
Please, let me one second.
All right, let's let Geraldo respond.
My family and I came here. I came to this amazing country.
God bless your family. So did all of our families.
We never took a handout. I'm still talking.
42% of our agricultural workers are undocumented. And nobody disagrees with that statistic. 42% of the people who till our fields, who reap our crops, who feed us, 42% are undocumented. They're not the tabloid 1 in a million who commits a heinous crime.
My point is that we should triage. Yes, Piers, that we should prioritize the criminals, but anyone who comes here illegally does not have a right to be in this country.
No, of course, but the problem with that is that there are apparently up to...
Oh, and Stardust is talking to Drew Pavlo.